Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Daisy. Today we are going to be reading my subscribers' scary stories. So if you guys are interested, grab your snacks, grab your cobija, and let's get straight into it. Now let's begin with our first story. Hi Daisy, my name is Jackie and I'm 23 now. This encounter happened to me when I was 17 and lived with my mom. In the neighborhood I grew up in has a lot of childhood memories that I will always cherish, except for the neighbor we lived beside for so many years. This neighbor and my mom would not get along. There would oftentimes be a lot of disputes between my mom and her family. Intentional happenings would take place, such as trash being left on our porch, loud music into early hours of the morning, and cigarette ends being thrown all over our yard. My mother didn't smoke, but our neighbor did. We didn't judge, but it was a nuisance, especially when the lady would literally blow the smoke in the vent of our apartment. I forgot to mention, these apartments were connected to each other. Both kitchens shared a washing machine vent. It was like a cutout in the wall covered by a square piece of drywall. I never understood why the construction was like that, but you could sometimes hear what the other person in the apartment was doing if you wanted to eavesdrop. LOL. Over the years, a lot of tension grew between my mom and the lady and her family. It was to the point that my mom decided to let go of the situation and let things be. Things did get worse, but we honestly became immune to it and just went on with our lives. One night, a couple of months before I graduated high school, I remember the lady was throwing a party for her oldest daughter. It was like 4 in the morning and the music and commotion had kept us up all throughout the night. I had to be up for school 2 hours later, so my mom just told me to go to sleep and ignore it. 2 hours later, I woke up to hearing crying and more commotion outside of my room window. I woke my mom up explaining to her the situation, and we looked outside of my room window only to find police officers and a coroner talking to the lady's daughter, her boyfriend, and her son. We found out that lady had suffered a brain aneurysm an hour later after my family and I went to sleep. It was really tragic because she went upstairs to retire for the night and her 2 youngest grandchildren were laying in her bed, and they said she stumbled to the bed and fell on top of them, blood coming from her mouth. No child should have to experience that. Although we had our troubles in the past, my family and I were extremely grief-stricken to the loss of their family member, as well as the neighborhood altogether. It took some time for things to go back to normal. There were a lot of tension between my family and her family. Sometimes, thinking back on it, it was like her family blamed my mom for her death. After laying her to rest, her remaining family had to move out of the apartment. The apartment stayed empty for some time due to making a lot of repairs. At that time, I was in honors dance, but after suffering an injury, I had to stay out for some time. After school, I was the first one to get home, waiting about 3 to 4 hours for my mom and brother to get home. 2 months after the lady's passing, everything was fine until one day my mom talked about that morning and how unexpected her death was. I always wondered, because we spoke about it, we called on the lady's spirit, because things just went downhill from there. When I would get home, I would always freshen up from school, make my snack, and get started on my homework. I remember one day I was standing at the kitchen sink washing dishes, home alone, and I remember feeling this evil force standing behind me. Literally, the sunlight in the kitchen went dim, and I just felt goosebumps forming on my neck. I turned around, startled, but of course, there was nothing behind me. I dismissed it, but immediately said a prayer and went on with my chores. A week after that, I was chilling in the living room listening to music while working on a project, and I heard from above me upstairs something heavy walking in the hallway. It sounded like heavy footsteps, but as if something was attached to those steps. Our apartment was really old, so you could hear the slightest creak in the floor. Thinking my mom had gotten home, I took out my earbuds and called out to my mom. No answer. The walking continues all the way to the top of the stairs. I hesitantly walked from the living room to the kitchen to the base of the stairs and looked up the staircase, but did not see anything. This would happen a lot. hearing someone walk upstairs throughout our rooms. It was so scary being home alone, and these disturbances kept happening. I didn't tell my mom until one day it was her and I at home, and we were just chatting away in the living room, and we heard distinctively from upstairs someone sitting on her bed. Hearing the creak in the springs of the bed caused us to stop talking and look at each other. My mom is very spiritual, so she started saying a prayer. As soon as she stopped praying, we heard whatever it was get up from the bed and walk from her room to the end of the hallway at the top of the staircase. To say we booked it out of the apartment was an understatement. A deathly smell would emit from the vacant apartment and travel to our kitchen. My mom is a really clean person, always lighting incense and candles, so she was well aware that it was coming from next door. The smell would just not disappear. No matter what we sprayed or burned, it smelled horrible, like a rotting corpse. Not only that, coming home from school, I would find cigarette butts on my kitchen counter. After dealing with all of that, I would just stay after school until I knew my mom would be home. Eventually, neighbors moved in and we got to know them. They were very nice people, but the strange occurrences would still happen in our house. The last straw for my mom was one night she was sleeping in her room and she said she had a horrid nightmare about my neighbor. The lady was in her room at the foot of her bed watching her sleep. When my mom woke up in her dream, the lady screamed at her to get out and started to cackle. My mom said she saw other entities around the lady until my mom found the will to start praying. The lady and the other entities fell to the floor and disappeared. My mom said she found her closet door wide open despite closing it before going to bed. We moved out about a week later, and the occurrences stayed in that apartment. I was relieved and was able to get back to my life after that. Funny thing, fast forward to last Christmas, my fiance and I went to spend Christmas with my mom, and somehow we got on the story of the lady. I ended up confessing to my mom everything I encountered being at home alone, and she told me she went through the exact same thing when my brother and I were at school. One time even saying she heard the lady talking in our kitchen while my mom was napping in the living room. It's terrifying knowing the lady took her resentfulness and hatred towards us in death and tortured us for months. I have so many other encounters, but this story was long enough. Thank you for sharing if you do, and please keep the content coming. I absolutely adore you, Jackie. Thank you, Jackie, for writing in and your kind words. Please send more stories. I can't wait to hear them. This one was really good. I can't believe your neighbor really carried that anger, whatever she felt towards you guys, to her afterlife. That's mind-blowing that she began to haunt you guys. Wow. But honestly, that was really sad with her grandchildren. Like you said, like no child should experience that ever. So prayers out for them, because that seemed just traumatizing. So wow, that was scary, girl. What the heck? I was getting goosebumps non-stop, especially when we were talking about just hearing her footsteps or hearing something be dragged upstairs. Just the smell, everything. You said it so well that I couldn't picture everything. You guys are such great writers. Thank you guys for writing in. I truly appreciate you guys so much. If you guys want any stories to be featured on my channel, please send it at daicyspooks@gmail.com. You guys have the best stories, literal best stories. So thank you guys so much. Jackie, thank you for writing in. Wow, send more, girl. Now moving on to our next story. Hello Daisy, hope you're doing well. My name is Pita. I just wanted to first start off by saying my condolences to you and your family for the recent loss of your grandpa. I know he meant the world to you, but I'm sure he's resting peacefully in heaven. Thank you so much, Pita, for your condolences. Everyone's condolences. It means so much to me and my family. So thank you. I love and enjoy your content. I love listening to your stories while I'm driving to and from work. Definitely keeps me entertained. I'm always excited when you post new content, as I'm sure most of your subscribers do as well. So here I thought I would share a story of mine that you can feature in one of your videos. So this story isn't something particularly that happened to me, but it is something that happened to a friend of mine. So here it goes. I have a friend who used to live in an apartment complex that was built years ago above an old cemetery. So you can just imagine the creepy things that happened to the people who lived there. Anyways, so my friend would tell me that there was something about her apartment that just gave her the creeps. She said when she was little, she experienced a lot of weird stuff, but one particular story she shared with me always stood out to me. My friend lived in a 2-bedroom apartment and she shared a room with her 2 sisters. Her room was literally right across from the bathroom, which you can see from her bedroom door across the hall. They had a bunk bed and 1 single bed, which were set up right across from each other. My friend would sleep in the bottom bunk bed and her little sister would sleep in the separate bed. So basically one night, my friend was asleep and she got up out of nowhere in the middle of the night. She said when she opened her eyes, she saw her sister standing in front of her, just staring at her. She said it was creepy and she felt scared, but she figured, it's just my sister. She said she asked her, "What are you doing?" And her sister stared at her for a few minutes in silence. So then she asked her again, "What are you doing?" She said her sister then said, "Nothing, I am just waiting for the bathroom," and continued to stare at her. My friend said that for whatever reason, her bedroom door was opened that night and they always kept it closed. And like I mentioned before, you could see the bathroom straight ahead from her room. So she looked to the bathroom and the door was wide open and no one was inside. So she thought to herself, why is she waiting for the bathroom when the bathroom is empty with no one using it? She then turned back around, and when she turned back around, she looked at her sister's bed, and sure enough, her sister was sleeping in the bed. She got so scared, thinking to herself, who the hell did I just talk to? She immediately turned around, covered herself with a blanket, and forced herself to go to sleep as she was frightened at what had just happened. Now, here is the craziest part of the story. The next morning when she woke up, all of her family was sitting in the kitchen eating breakfast, and she went and joined them. When she sat down, her dad asked her sister this, "Where were you in my room last night?" And her sister said, "What are you talking about? I was not in your room last night." And her dad said, "Yes, you were. You were standing in front of my bed, just staring at me. I thought it was weird, but I asked you, what were you doing? And you told me, nothing, I'm just waiting for the bathroom." Dad, I just said, okay, and went back to sleep. What the heck? Her sister then said, "What? I never once got up to use the bathroom last night. I slept all night." My friend said she was shocked and scared as hell. Keep in mind, she hadn't even told anyone about her own experience. She then told them both, "Yeah, the same thing happened to me." They were all like, what the hell? And shocked that the exact same thing that happened to her also happened to her dad on the same night. Creepy, right? Well, I really hope you enjoyed my story. I have other stories to share as well. If you're interested, I would be glad to share again. Hope you have a great day and much love always. Bita, yes, share more. Thank you so much for writing in. Yeah, what if that would happen to me? I would feel like I was going crazy, but the confirmation with the father was like, oh yeah, no, that definitely happened. Your friend's sister had no idea what was going on. She was like, what are you guys talking about? I was sleeping last night. But the creepiest part to me is that whatever this thing was resembled your friend's sister, since the dad and your friend thought it was her, since it might have resembled her in some way. So whatever it was like trying to trick, trying to fool them, make them think that it was really their sister. God knows what it was. But thank you so much, Bita. Of course, please write in your stories. I would love to hear them. Now let's move on to the next story. Hello Daisy, my name is Ashlyn. This is kind of a long story, but it goes like this. When my mom was pregnant, she was going to have girl triplets, including me. Sadly, the only one that made it alive was me. My mom was sad, but was thankful that at least one of her daughters had made it. Fast forward to a couple of years later, when I was 5 years old, my mom got pregnant again. My mom once told me she didn't know she was pregnant till I started to lay on her tummy, and I told her that my little brother was hungry, or I would tell her when he was sad. So I already had a strong connection with him. Sadly again, my mom had miscarriage, and she had found out that the baby she was having was indeed a boy. When I grew a little older, her miscarriage was still a bit uneasy to me. So being the teenager I was, I asked my mom what would she have named my brother if he was born. She replied saying, "Le hubiera puesto Victor, porque tu abuelita se llama Victoria." That always stuck to me because I was really close to my grandma, so it wasn't hard to forget at all. Fast forward once again to 2018, I had this friend that I was super close to. She once had claimed to me that she had the sixth sense, but I never truly believed her. But one night, that all changed. She had come over to spend the night as she usually did. We had a movie night and ate snacks till we were both ready to go to sleep. I was already in bed using my phone when she told me she needed to use the restroom, so I sat on my bed so I could wait for her, but as soon as she opened the door, she stopped to stare at something. I told her, "Hey dude, are you okay? ¿Qué pasó?" She kept staring and made it creepy by having a small smirk. This made me have a really weird feeling, so I didn't want to get up. I told her, "Can you hurry already?" She replied with, "There's two kids right in front of me. One of them is a girl and the other one is a boy, and they're asking if they can come in." I was a bit scared and wasn't sure if she was messing with me, so I told her to hurry up one more time and go to the bathroom and to tell them that they can't come in. She then continued to say, "But Victor really wants to talk to you." When she said that, I felt my body go cold and I froze completely. My mind went blank, and as soon as I reacted, I hid under my blanket wanting to cry. The reason why is because I had never told my friend about my mom miscarrying a baby boy, nor that she would have named him Victor. The next day, I asked her what happened to the little kids that she saw last night, and she told me she didn't remember seeing anything at all, and that I was going crazy because she only used the restroom and came back to my room and went to sleep. Later that week, I told my cousin about what had happened, and she told me that it was super creepy, but me and her had the same questions. Who was that little girl? And if that was really my little brother, why were they asking to come in? My cousin told me that from what she knows, good spirits don't ask to come in. Also, if it was my sister that was supposed to be born with me, where was the other one? I am still left with many unanswered questions. Thank you for reading my story. Te mando un abrazo muy grande, Ashlyn. Thank you so much, Ashlyn, for writing in, and my condolences to you and your mother. That must have been really, really hard. I can't even imagine. So just my heart goes out to both of you. But the questions that you were having were the same questions that I was having. I was like, girl, yes, like what happened to your other twin sister? It was just so weird that she got Victor, like the name was just spot on. And like you said, you didn't tell her about the whole situation. How would she know the name Victor? That is insane. And the fact that she doesn't remember her ever telling you that, even more insane. The questions, girl, we are on the same page. But thank you so much, Ashlyn, for writing in. If you have any more stories, send them my way. Now moving on to our next story. Hi girlie, my name is Maria. I'm writing this as I'm watching one of your videos, but let me get straight to it. So my husband, daughter, and I moved to our current apartment a year ago. Ever since I can remember, I've had so many paranormal experiences. So the first encounter was probably 2 days in. My daughter was terrified to use her restroom, which was literally right next to her room. I added pictures of our apartment layout. Anyways, since she decided to shower in our bathroom that night, I didn't want to walk in on her, so I went to use the bathroom by her room. I was in there probably 4 minutes at most. It felt as if someone was in there with you. In my mind, I was like, no, it's just my imagination. I finished my business and turned to the tub, and I see little footprints and big ones as well in there. Like a 3-year-old's little feet. My daughter was 6, about to be 7, so her feet weren't that little anymore. And I was like, whose feet are those? I called my husband and he tried to brush it off and said it must have been her playing in there. I wasn't comfortable with that, so I decided to ask my daughter if she had been playing in the bathtub. She shook her head and said, no, Mom, I pinky promise. I haven't. I think I might have a picture of it somewhere. Anyways, I left it at that and tried not to think of it being haunted. A couple of days go by and one of the maintenance guys is my husband's clients. He's a barber, and he asked him if we had experienced any scares. And he's like, no, why? And he tells them because supposedly there's a little girl that haunts our apartment. We prayed in my daughter's room and in her hallway by the bathroom and over her, so whatever it is doesn't bother her. And since then, we got another dog that is with her 24/7 when she sleeps or anywhere she goes. And I think that has helped her get some peace. Another story was recently, literally 3 days ago. It was around 11 and I decided to take a bath and have some me time while my husband was playing video games online. He was wearing his headphones as well. He was playing where the black square is in our bedroom. I was smoking and I had 2 joints. My daughter was asleep on the other side of the house and I had the air on, and I also put a towel at the bottom of the door so no smell would get out. Keep this in mind. I remember perfectly putting what was left of the joints a certain way on top of the speaker that I was using to hear music. There is no way one of them would fall and the other move to the way they were when I got out. I inserted a picture of the before and after. I didn't even fully dry. I ran out the bath and I told my husband, and he was like, you're tripping, Janelli. I saw our daughter pass by while I was playing. It was a school night and she's never up past 9:45. He claims he saw her through his peripheral. Keep in mind, when I was opening the door, the towel was still how I had left it on the floor. So I'm like, are you sure it was her? So I'm walking to her room, and this was in the time span of 5 minutes. I walk to her room and this girl is knocked out asleep. I try and tell my husband again, and he's not much of a believer, so I gave up on it. So much has happened in just a year. I pray all the time, but it's so creepy because there's not an explanation for them to end up like that. What do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts down below. You guys saw the before, you guys saw the after. I would think because of the vibration from the speakers, the joints would just roll off completely, but one was positioned very weird. The fact that there's buttons there, I don't know, I would think it would be hard for them to roll over. I don't know. But what do you guys think? I also want to add that the husband saw the daughter, what he thought was his daughter. And not only that, the maintenance guy says that this apartment is haunted by a little girl. So I'm leaning towards the little girl spirit was trying to play a little joke on you, play a little prank. So nothing, I don't think it's like evil or anything, but let me know your guys' thoughts. Also, a huge shout out to Janelli because she put in the before and after pictures and the apartment complex. She was really trying to show us, okay, you guys, this is that. Thank you, girl. I appreciate you. So that was it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed these stories. If you would like to share a story for me to feature on my channel, please send them in at daicyspooks@gmail.com. Send all the details, all the chisme. We love to hear it. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys all in my next one. Bye.